I started, I was leading with my head. And it made sense because most of the things I'd accomplished, I'd been accomplishing through thinking. But it was much later that I realized that I was leaving a lot on the table because I actually wasn't using my heart to really motivate people and energize people, particularly people who think differently than you. It's really easy to use your head, in my experience, to motivate people who are similar to you, have similar values, aspirations, objectives, because the things that you want them to do will likely make complete and total sense to them. I think I had delusions of grandeur pretty early and thought I was a leader likely by third grade, trying to get 5 kids to do what I wanted them to do. It wasn't until much later that I kind of disabused myself to that notion that I had intrinsic leadership skills. By the time I hit the workforce, started out as an individual contributor. And then over time, as your responsibilities were expanded, you had to take on responsibilities for ultimately leading people. And I made all the mistakes that it seems like virtually every single new manager, new leader makes. Clipping through all those mistakes is a great learning academy. Making the 10 most common leadership mistakes, and then finally figuring out what resonated, what mobilized certain populations, what was extensible, what wasn't extensible. I finally started to develop some leadership capacity relatively late in my career. There's extraordinary value in learning from your mistakes. Even mistakes, as painful as they are, people have a hard time acknowledging when they make mistakes. And I think what they don't appreciate is one of the reasons why it's so critical to acknowledge mistakes is that if you can't acknowledge that you've made a mistake, the message you're sending to people is that I'm actually not going to learn from this experience, which is terribly alarming for most people. I really try to go back and say, what's the key takeaway? What's the key learning? And then I try to really make sure that for the people to whom I am accountable, that I'm evidencing to them that I am learning from that mistake. Talent is the single most important resource to any organization. It should be the source of any sustainable competitive advantage. And we try to take a really, really strategic perspective around talent because talent's dynamic. It's not static. It can't be that you've gone into the market, hired up the smartest people, the best trained people at the time, you've tucked them into your organization, and everything's fine. Talent is very, very dynamic, and you have to be extraordinarily thoughtful, not only about attracting talent, but having the right talent in your organization, and actually having the right environment in your organization to optimize the experience that talent has, and therefore their contributions to the organization. So it's a very kind of dynamic experience of saying, understand your business plan, understand the environment in which you're operating, and then figure out what are the implied talent requirements, prerequisites as it were, to be successful in that space, and then be very, very thoughtful and focused about going out and identifying the best talent for that space, and then understand that you may not have a kind of a starting position of strength, so how do you build for your organization a starting position of strength for that talent and bring it in the organization, and then really work hard to engage it, motivate it, and then we've discovered that, like most people know, really talented people attract other really talented people. Most populations are diverse, and not culturally diverse, but diverse with respect to their values. And so to really motivate people who have a diverse set of values and aspirations, that you have to really figure out how do you connect with them. And to connect with the broadest pool of people possible, you have to be able to figure out the group that you connect to through their brains, and the group that you connect to kind of through their hearts, and make sense from a formal logic perspective with people's brains, but to find a way to motivate them by really kind of tapping into their values and their aspirations, really their heart. I belatedly discovered that that is a pretty powerful tool.